How to conduct yajnas. Yogina kechid pare dishtam yajnam vadanti cha brahmagnireva yajno vai iti kechana menire. Sri Gajanan Prabhu says to King Varinya in verse 31, I shall tell you how to understand the yajna of a Hamsa. Listen to it. Whatever he does is for my satisfaction alone. Hence, all their actions are yajnas. The qualities is in this yajna begin when the feeling arises in his mind, which becomes the installation of the sacrificial fire. All efforts made for the fulfillment of desire becomes the offerings of the yajna, and the satisfaction one gets is the oblation. He himself feels the satisfaction. It is the same as surrendering to me. This is the nature and result of a Jnana Yajna. All that happens is as per destiny, occurring according to increase in intelligence. When the Jnani becomes detached and gives up his egoistic intellect, it means he has surrendered to me. This is the essence of Yajna. After attaining the superconscious and supraconscious meditative union and its psychic powers, when he attains the state of Purna Yoga, the life journey of that yogi becomes Jnana Yajna itself. After this, he goes on to describe why we should consider Varnashramadhari, one who upholds the Varnashrama Dharma, yogi's life, as a yajna. Sri Gajanana Prabhu says, simply carrying on life according to one's destiny and making no changes or differences therein is said to be the yajna of a Mahahamsa. Now listen to how a Paramahamsa conducts his yajna. The consciousness to protect the body is there in him, but he does not make any special effort towards it. The nature of his yajna is that he remains satisfied with whatever happens as per his predetermined destiny. The nature of the yajna of a Hamsa Ashramadari sannyasi is that, apart from not doing what is prohibited for his varnashrama, he takes efforts to preserve the jiva stationed in his body and takes care to see that no other jiva is inconvenienced even slightly. The attention that he puts in is a yajna. Such a yajna is done only to please me. The words Dishtam Yajnam means conducting one's life according to one's destiny. This is the characteristic of the Paramahamsa Yajna. Pouring the oblation of one's karma in the fire of Brahma was a characteristic of a Hamsa Yajna. It is the consciousness of Brahma's reflection within the body. It is a knowledge of the union with Maya which has been experienced. Sri Gajanan Prabhu then goes on to speak about the yajna of the Bahudak and Kutichak sannyasis in verse 32. Sanyamagno pare bhupa indriyanyupa juvate kagnishvanye tat vishayan shabdadinupajuvati. The characteristic mentioned above were due to the complete establishment of jnana. After considerable effort and practice, there is no fickleness of the sense organs or desperation thereafter. The Bahudak sannyasi is required to carry on with his life only after practicing restraint and complete control over his sense organs. That is the nature of their yajna, because they offer the tendencies of their sense organs in the fire of restraint and thereby perform homa all the time. The yajna of a Kutichak sannyasi keeps the sense organs under control so that distance is maintained from sense objects. They prefer to remain in solitude and keep relations with people only to the extent necessary for bhiksha. In this yajna, I, the Brahma as Gajanana, is present in their sense organs as fire in order to absorb them. They perform oblation with words that bring them success. Here, the actions of a sannyasi who is established in his jnana determines the yajna. Prananam indriyanam cha pare karmani kritsrishaha nijatmarati rupegno jnana dipti prajuvati. People from other varnashrams, such as the brahmachari or celibate youth, the grihastha or the householder, and the vanaprasth or one who has migrated to the forest for penance, also establish themselves in jnana and get connected to me. They attain psychic powers by their yogic practices. What is the nature of their yajna? Earlier it was mentioned that the grihastharas are eligible for karma yoga alone, and that only sannyasis were eligible for jnana yoga. This was the main eligibility. Sannyasis may take up karma yoga, or a brahmachari, grihastha or vanaprasth person who intensively yearns for steadfastness in jnana yoga can also take it up. There's nothing wrong with that. The confusion is in the goal of attaining psychic powers from the state of Brahma. When a sadhak undertakes necessary practices with steadfastness, it is considered jnana nishtha. With that kind of steadfastness, the behavior and the life journey of the sadhak becomes focused on the union with Brahma, and there's no place for any other thing. Hence, all actions of the sadhak becomes a yajna. In this sense, the actions of one who is steadfast in karma yoga too become a yajna. This includes prananam indriyanam cha karmani. Karmas of the prana are internal karmas, while karmas of the sense organs are external karmas. All karmas done by a karma yogi sadhak are offered as a yajna. The Atma submerged in joy is Agni, where all actions are surrendered as offerings to Brahma. It is the sacrificial fire itself. In such a yajna, I get all the satisfaction. Therefore, I am the enjoyer as well. Such sadhaks consider it their duty to offer their actions to me. Hence, it is a yajna. Through their offerings of karmas with detachment, the sadhaks become proficient in jnana yoga. The uniqueness is their dedication to experience the state of Brahma and their supreme love for it. This is the essence of a yajna. Some sadhaks are attracted to the joys of material objects and yet maintain an eagerness to attain the state of Brahma. What do such sadhaks do to make their life a yajna? What steps will result in their detachment from sense objects and will lead them to attain Brahma? What constitutes a yajna? Dravyena tapasa vapi swadhyayenapi kechana tivravratena yatino jnanenapi yajanti mam. In verse 34, Gajanan says, tapas, penance and various austerities are tools for yajna. They should determine for themselves their daily routines of japa or tapas, which is to be done without fail and should be their aim. This will form a part of their offerings into the yajna. Whatever schedule they decide has to be done regularly with complete dedication and by following all rules. When they do this strictly, then their penance attains sharpness and their actions become a yajna itself. Again, even though one may not have acquired any right or has no capacity for giving up material enjoyments or is not equipped to follow any discipline, but he firmly believes that Brahma is the truth, even this determination is enough for the actions of a person to be considered a yajna. He is better off than an ignorant person with dull intellect. Prane apanantata pranam pane prakshipa antiye ruddhavagatis chobasyo te pranayama ratanaraha. Shri Gajanan Prabhu says in verse 35, dedication to Brahma and doing everything as worship to attain him is a yajna. Even a Hatha yogi who breathes air performs a yajna. The air that he inhales is prana, and the air that flows downwards is apanavayu. After breathing in pranavayu and holding it within is called purak. As a rule, while inhaling, count to a certain number. After inhalation, hold the breath in by closing both the nostrils with your fingers. This is known as kumbhak. While doing the kumbhak purak, count up to 4 times the initial number for inhalation and keep holding the breath in for all this time. Thereafter, exhale from the right nostril. While exhaling, count the number twice that of inhalation. This is known as rejak. In the same way, do the whole process through the left nostril. Do the purak, then the kumbhak 4 times, followed by the exhalation through the left nostril for twice the purak. This cycle should be done again and again in this manner. This is known as pranayama. Doing pranayama in this manner destroys all sins. The source of prana or life force is the nabi or navel. There, 2 nerves meet which come from above. The left channel is known as Ida Nadi and the right channel is known as Pingala Nadi. The channel that goes through the middle of the spinal column between both the channels is known as Sushumna Nadi. If, through the practice of pranayama, the air becomes steady at the navel, then both prana and apana gets stabilized. Then its upward flow stops. It becomes balanced by holding on to the pranavayu at the navel. By doing this practice regularly, the air at the base gets nudged and its pace becomes slower, and then progressively one attains psychic powers in pranayama. Jitva pranan pranagati rupa juvati teshu cha evam nana yajnarata yajnadvamsita pataka. Continuing the narration, in verse 36 he says, with practice, when the prana and apana are united, both of them get established in the navel. There is a third kind of vayu called dhyana, which is present, which allows the prana to move upwards while the apana vayu goes downwards. The normal state of dhyana or meditation is balance. The surrender of the prana and apana vayu in a state of meditation is also a yajna. All that is done for the attainment of Brahma are forms of yajna. Thus, several types of yajnas are stated in the scriptures. By engaging in these kinds of practices, all obstacles are destroyed progressively and one experiences the state of Brahma as a culmination. Shri Gajanan Prabhu says, King Varenya, anyone who lives his life by performing all actions as a yajna does not have to face hell. I see to it that anyone who practices satkarma to win my love attains the path of light and steadily, step by step, progresses all the way to Swananda Loka after death. Any sadhak who follows the above mentioned steps as a yajna with the sole intention of attaining me is truly blessed. Such a person is said to have effectively utilized his human birth. He truly fulfills the purpose of his birth as a human being. Nityam Brahma Pratyantye Te Yajna Sheshamrtashinah Ayajnakarino Loko Nayamanya Kuto Bhavet. In verse 37, he says, those who do nothing as a yajna, even after getting a human body, do not get anything even in the Mrityu-loka. Then why should they hope for something in other lokas? They will only get hell. Over the ages, due to the path of good karmas, set in the Bharat subcontinent, has made it the only place as Karma Bhumi on earth. The remaining are all places of enjoyment. The Jambu Dweep, or the Asian subcontinent, the Bharatakhand, the region known as Bharat or India, alone is considered as Karma Bhumi. The remaining 8 out of the 9 regions are all places of enjoyment. Similarly, the enjoyment on earth in the remaining 6 continents grants specific merits which are unique to each of them. When a person has earned more merits, he enjoys a stay in the Patal Loka. There are more divine lokas above that grant greater enjoyments. In all these regions, one enjoys the merits earned. He does not get any right to do karmas there. The joys that one gets in Bharat are minimal compared to the enjoyments elsewhere, but it is the means for getting all those joys which are found elsewhere. It is only here that a sadhak has the right to perform the actions necessary to earn the enjoyments that is found in all other places. This is the greatness of Bharatakhand. Whether one gets heaven or hell depends on the quality of karmas done here. Besides, even the permanent eternal joy gained from the psychic powers of the divine is also possible only here. To sum up, a human being should do spiritual practice of the yajnas to deserve enjoyments. King Varinya wondered if there were any more yajnas to learn about. With this thought in his mind, he questioned Sri Ganaraja Prabhu, "Are there any more yajnas? Please tell me about them as well. Or is it possible to satisfy and get everything by performing only one yajna? Please tell me if that is so." Kaikadi triya bhutan yajnan vede pratishtitan jnatva tan akhilan bhupa moksha se akhila bandhanat. Shri Gajanan Prabhu says in verse 38, the Vedas mention a few more yajnas about which I shall tell you. The human body that a jiva gets at birth is by and large determined by the karmas done in previous lives. Hence, the joys and sorrows faced by him are dependent on his past karmas, which one is bound to get. Thus, there is no need to become overjoyed or grieve when they occur. Whatever good or bad happens has to be enjoyed or suffered. One can remain balanced only by thinking in this way. This is known as Kayik Yajna. When you are connected to the truth of being only the Atman, all oblations of joys and sorrows of the body are a yajna. The karmas that are done through speech in the earlier lives is the same that I have derived in this life. Why should I be joyous or sorrowful about it? Being determined in this manner makes one's speech a vachik yajna. The same is true of manasik yajna. By merely connecting to one's Atman, which is the origin of the awakened state, the Kayik, Vachik and Manasik yajnas that determine our pleasures can be used to create many more yajnas. One can get rid of many bondages by being consciously aware of this. Sarvesham bhupayajnanam Jnana Yajna paro mataha Akhilam ti liyate karma jnane mokshasya sadhane. Even after explaining everything, the question still arises as to why Jnana Yajna is considered the most excellent of all yajnas. In verse 39, Shri Gajanan Prabhu says, all accomplishments mentioned earlier about the performance of various yajnas, their entire fruits can be attained by performing one Jnana Yajna. Earlier, when I was explaining to you about the characteristics of a Jnana Yajna, I had said that the only consciousness that remains is that of Aham Brahmasmi. All kinds of Maya melt away. That is the Yajna of Mahamsa. It is the only way of liberation because all the karmas get dissolved in it. The only feeling held on to is the sense of reflection, and that is also cancelled. That is why Jnana Yajna is the most excellent of all. After listening this far, King Varenya asks, Jnana Yajna seems difficult to understand. How can it be practiced? One has to be constantly reminded to understand it. Some system needs to be created because in this incarnation, once your work is done, you become self-absorbed. Then, whom shall I ask and who shall tell me? It is true that you have fully explained the entire path of yoga in a lucid manner, but I have not practiced it. And when shall I be able to actualize it? Till I have achieved that state, who shall remain beside me and provide me with the necessary understanding? This concludes this session of the dialogue between Sri Ganaraja Prabhu and King Varenya.